Hello.
Hi.
How are you? You good?
Um, yeah, so basically, I am atheist and I grew up atheist. And
Okay.
I recently talked a lot or learned a lot about Islam because my fiance is
Muslim?
Muslim. And
Right.
I was curious to understand his perspective of the world. And
Okay.
obviously, so in the past, I was more agnostic. So I was like open to something bigger, but I didn't really. I grew up in Germany, which is more like a Christian country. I didn't really resonate with the Christian idea
Hmm.
and picture of God.
Okay.
And that's why I was like open for something, but also that went away with time. And now because I talked to him a lot about religion and God, I was like
Mhm.
questioning again in myself if I can like find this belief or something. But basically I have a big issue to like I just don't feel this like belief that God exists. And I'm not
Uh-huh.
even sure if it would make my life better to believe in God, to be honest, because I also feel like with Islam specifically, there comes a lot of pressure
Uh-huh.
regarding the afterlife or the things you have to do.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I also struggle with is every time I ask too many questions, at some point it becomes like illogical, and people always say you just have to breach the gap of trust. You just have to believe. And, and I find that's a bit troubling. And I don't really have like a specific question. This is just like I guess maybe what you think about it. I cannot find this belief in myself, or if it would make my life better. I don't know. It's just like thoughts, and I got my fiance suggested the channel, so that's why I'm here. Yeah, it's not a very specific question, but maybe just your thoughts to these things.
Okay. All right. So it's quite a few things there. Well,
Yeah.
first thing we gotta be clear, and I have to be here, ruining a situation a little bit. But in Islam, it is not permissible for a Muslim, and I know he's there and he's listening. It's not permissible for a Muslim man to marry someone who is non-Muslim, atheist, for instance, or polytheistic, etc. That's not allowed in Islam. It's permissible for you to marry a Jew or a Christian, for instance, as a woman, but there's conditions that the woman has to be chaste, for instance, and she has to be believing in her religion, not just like culturally, Christian or something. And she doesn't even believe in Christianity. So that's the first thing I'm gonna I'm gonna say because it's important. Second thing, to respond to what you said you don't feel the existence of God.
Hmm.
That's one thing you said. The other thing you said is you don't feel is going to improve your life, believing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make something very important and clear. I would say the existence of the Creator is not based on feelings. The existence of God is either a reality or not.
Hmm.
So, for instance, today I might be in a good mood, and I feel that this light in front of me exists. I might be in a bad mood, and I say it doesn't exist. It's not going to
Hmm.
disappear, right? The light exists in reality. Irrelevant of my subjective personal opinion, the light will continue to exist.
Yes.
So there are things that exist in objective human reality. They're not binded by subjective opinion, feelings, or experiences. Okay? So
Hmm.
the first thing I would say is to not think of God just as how do I feel right now. It's not the right way, it's not the right measurement to determine whether God exists or not. Number two, is it going to benefit my life? I'll respond with the same thing. Whether this light benefits me or not. That's again a subjective personal thing. The question should be, does the light exist or not? Whether the light benefits me or not, that is not a criteria for whether it exists or not.
Hmm.
Maybe there is a creator that exists and it doesn't benefit your life. Let's assume hypothetically, right? We don't believe that. But I'm saying hypothetically, why do you believe that the creator needs to benefit you? You're a creation.
But
If
the thing is, I don't believe that, right? That's the point. That's why I have such trouble because in my reality, what you said, for me, I'm sorry, but like God does not exist, right? For
You don't need
me,
to be sorry. It's fine. Like you can. I don't mind. But so I'm trying to explain something different to you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
I
you
get
don't believe in a creator, but I'm
mm,
saying what you're presenting is what I'm trying to tell you. What you're presenting is not an argument. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Is not an
mm,
argument against the existence of a creator, right?
yes,
So if someone were to say, "I don't believe a creator exists," he cannot say because I feel like this. For
mm,
instance, that's not proof. He cannot say because God doesn't benefit me. That's also not proof.
mm,
Because even if these things were true, that you feel this way and it doesn't benefit you, still God can still exist. That's
yeah,
that's the point I'm trying to make to you, right?
hmm,
So that is the first thing. Now, how do you know whether God exists or not? I'll tell you very simply. Can something, we use rationality and common sense, can something come from nothing? Absolute nothingness.
I mean, no,
Okay, when I say absolute nothingness, I'm saying no energy, no matter, no space, no quarks, nothing.
No.
Right? If there was ever nothing, it will always be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there will be no agency, nothing can come to existence, nothing can never give a rise to something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the universe that we're living in has a starting point that the scientists believe referred to as the Big Bang. They say there was energy and matter compressed into a very minute singularity that expanded very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, we said you cannot have something from nothing. Does energy and matter, is it conscious beings that moves by themselves, or do they require causes and someone to move them or to have some influence on them or agency?
They don't have agency, but
Okay.
I'm not sure if it needs something conscious to make them move.
Well,
Or if
before we say conscious or not conscious, we don't need to get, no problem. You can avoid conscious or not. Oh, we'll come to all of that. They are not, energy and matter does not act by itself. It is not conscious realities. It cannot create itself.
Yeah.
Logically, nothing can create itself anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And if these things do not exist forever, they're starting with the universe, then we need an explanation. Where did the energy and matter come from? Number one, what caused the energy and matter of the universe to expand and to be the way it is? Because the way the universe expanded is very specific. There are many books written, by the way, on this. You have, for example, the book 6 Numbers, for instance, about how, and it gives you like almost infinite numbers, talking about the universe expansion. If the universe expanded any way differently, we're talking about a decimal difference here.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have an infinite amount of numbers that if one number were to change, the universe cannot exist. Now, on top of that, the way planet Earth is, that's called fine-tuning, or life existing on planet Earth. That also will require decimal, infinite amount of numbers. And these infinite amount of numbers, if any of them, in different things, we're talking about electromagnetic waves, we're talking about the speed where the universe expanded, we're talking about the time where atoms started to exist after the universe existed. All of these things are precise. If any of these things that could have been infinitely otherwise were changed even with one decimal, there would be a new universe and there would be never life in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that mean? That means that there was what you refer to, a conscious, or whatever term you want to use, there was a decision made that things will happen the way they are. Whatever caused the universe, whatever that is, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to refer to it, whatever brought the energy and matter into existence and caused it to expand the way it did, in the precise way that it did, intended it to be that way.
Is there not a possibility, because we know there are multiple galaxies and things, that
That's all the universe still.
Yeah, but that this was just one of nearly infinite like experiments, and we just happened to come to be the one that has been in the right position. You know what I mean? So that's just been so many.
I know what you mean, and I'll tell you why the argument doesn't work. There's 2 reasons why the argument doesn't work. And this is the argument that atheists will move to, with all due respect, to avoid accepting the existence of God. So this is called the multiverse theory, and it was brought forward by Stephen Hawking, and he has no evidence for it. He admits you cannot have evidence for something outside your universe because you cannot observe or test. You can just make a claim. That's it. You can just say, "Oh, I don't want to believe in God. There could have been an infinite existence of something." So the first thing I would say, that is proposed by atheists who don't want to believe in God. So it's not about rationality anymore. It's not about whether God exists or not. It's about you not wanting to believe in a creator. Therefore, you will seek any alternative to fit that criteria. But I'll tell you why that doesn't work. The first reason why that doesn't work, even if I had an infinite set of different things, you still have to explain where this infinite set of galaxies came from. Why do they exist? Who brought them into existence? Even if there were infinite numbers and one happened to be one way, where did all of these infinite galaxies come from? So we didn't really escape the question by claiming that there was infinite and it happened to be that way. That can try to answer the idea of why it is the way it is. But again, what I'm saying is there is no proof for infinite galaxies. There is no proof for anything of that sort. So we cannot consider a possibility that has no evidences. Because I can bring you a possibility right now, and I always use this example. Do you know that SpongeBob is dancing on the moon right now?
No.
Possibility, right? Is it possible? So if we go into the realm of absurdity, of possibilities, then you can say anything is possible. I could be a potato, for all
Yeah.
a living potato that was somehow transformed into possibilities, right? We talk about absurd possibilities. Maybe monkeys wrote Shakespeare, a group of monkeys come and they were throwing ink. And look, if we're going to talk about possibilities that people use, you cannot use possibilities and consider them and refute them or have any consideration for them unless there is evidences for them. So since there is no evidence for that, as I said, for this idea of multi-theism, number one. And number two, anyways, it doesn't solve the issue because we still have to explain where all of these galaxies came from, where all of the universes came from. It's the same idea. So whatever brought the universe, and that's why I'm saying it's not only the precise measurement that the universe exists, because now you will have the same problem with the infinite amount of universe. Do you know what the same problem is? Is that you will need a very specific measurement for any of these universes to continue to exist. You will need a very specific measurement. You will need a very now again. You'll also, as I said, need a very specific measurement for life to exist. So that even increases the impossibility of that. So when we say now, where does God exist or not? Whatever caused the universe, because by necessity there has to be something that brought the universe into existence. That's not a maybe yes or no. There has to be. If the universe exists, there has to be, and the universe, as we know, has a beginning. Then there has to be something else that brought it into existence. By definition, it's not even like. Do you remember what I said? It's not about feelings. It's about the fact that this has to be the case, that there has to be something that brought the universe. Whatever brought the universe into existence cannot be bound by time-space continuum the way we are. Because it created time and space. So that means past, present, and future, these things that we say is not applicable to God the way they are to us. And that now will give the idea of infinite knowledge to God because there's no past and present and future for the creator. He sees everything. He knows everything. Whatever created the universe, by the way, will have this characteristic. Whoever created the universe will be called the creator. Whatever created the universe will have an amount of knowledge you cannot even comprehend to give these precise measurements. So that is what human beings, and will have power that we cannot even comprehend. You know, the universe is full of atoms. And if you split an atom, you have what we call a nuclear explosion from the amount of energy within this universe. Now imagine the whole universe is atoms. So it will have power that we cannot even conceive of, whatever brought the universe into existence. Whatever that is, whatever name you want to give to it, this is what people call God.
I have a question. Can I ask one more?
Yeah, of course.
How do you imagine God? Like I know it's not like a specific picture, but maybe that's also what I said. It's like because I grew up here and God was always portrayed. I know it's not supposed to be like a man, but like in my head, to be honest, most of the time it's somewhat similar to like almighty human being, somewhat. And I know it doesn't really apply, but like how is it in your head when you talk about this? How would you picture this?
Excellent question. First, I'll tell you that both me and you are disbelievers in that God that is a human being. We both disbelieve in him. I also don't believe in that God. No Muslim believes in a God that is a human being. If you picture a human being in your head, that is not Allah by definition. What is the reason? The evidence is first. The Qur'an, Allah says in the Qur'an, Allah says, "La tudrikuhu al-absar wa huwa yudriku al-absar." Vision does not encompass him, and he encompasses all vision. So vision, aside, in this life, we cannot encompass God in seeing in the objects that you see. Allah says in the Quran, there is nothing like unto him. Laysa kamithlihi shay. There's nothing like unto him. And he's the all-seeing, the all-hearing. So there is nothing like Allah. Meaning now, if there is nothing like Allah, everything that we observe, Allah is unlike that. Now you observe galaxies, you observe stars, you observe human beings, you observe animals, you observe trees. Anything you observe, Allah is unlike that. So when we think about Allah and we don't visualize anything because we can't visualize it. We know that the Creator is beyond our simple experience of creation because what we observe is the creation. So if God would like it, he would be like the creation. He's like what he created. He's not. He is unlike his creation. So for instance, Allah describes himself in the Quran as light, but not this like the light that is coming right now, right? Allah says in the Quran, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, for instance. He's the light of everything. He's the light of guidance, the light of everything. Allah is the source of beauty. He has names and attributes. This is what we think about when we think about Allah. He's the most loving. He's the most just. He's the truth. He's the source of beauty. He's beautiful and he's the source of beauty. He is all-knowing. This is what we think about when we say God. But we do not picture any creation or anything similar to the creation. Now, we would say that is polytheism, to think if anything like the creation, I think this is God, this is disbelief straight away. If you think God is like any of the creation, you're not even a Muslim. You don't believe in Allah. That's not Allah. Now, when we talk about gender as well, to add on top of that, that also means that Allah is not bound by gender like we are, male and female. That doesn't exist. These are things that even things in creation, many of them are not bound by gender. Like you're not going to call bacteria male and female. And there are many things that you're not going to say male or female.
Yeah.
So Allah is the creator of everything, and He is the one who fashioned everything. This is the creator that we believe in. So when I tell you whoever created the universe, I'm referring to that. Something that is supreme, right? Transcendent, above everything, and created all of this. Not like, some guy on a chair with a beard, No, we don't believe that. That's not the creator, that Muslims believe in. This is the Christian God.
Do you believe Allah has a consciousness himself?
We believe consciousness, what people refer to as consciousness, is something that is not defined, by the way. There's something in science called the hard problem of consciousness. They don't know what consciousness is. Some people will define consciousness as it depends on how you define it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you define consciousness as the awareness of oneself and surroundings, of course, God is aware of that He exists and everything exists. So it depends on how you use the term. If you use consciousness and refer to the soul is created by God and given to us. So when you tell me, does God have consciousness? I'll have to clarify. What do you mean by consciousness? You get what I'm trying to say? Because even in science, you don't have a definition of consciousness, because consciousness is metaphysical. It's actually the soul. And since consciousness is metaphysical and it is the soul, then science cannot study it, because science only study physical things. That's why they have something called the hard problem of consciousness, because it's not a physical thing. You cannot put it under a microscope.
Okay. Good things that you think about. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Yeah. So all I'm going to say is this: is put it in perspective. When it comes to objective reality, there's right and wrong. There's truth and falsehood. Right? It's objectively true, objectively false. Here are the reasons which are by necessity. There has to be a creator of the universe. Okay, then we accept that conclusion. So I know there's a God. It's not about belief. I feel like fuzzy feelings like some Christians do, and I believe, and that's not it. I know there is a creator. And therefore, there is a creator. And I live my life based on that acceptance. Evidences that Islam is true are there. Therefore, I know for a fact that Islam has to be true. These are two separate things. Because God can exist, but it can be a different religion. But there's also objective evidences and facts why Islam is true. By the way, I have a lecture on my channel. It's like an hour, more than an hour, where I talk about by the way, because it'll take hours and hours, some of the evidences for why Islam is objectively true. So all of these things are objective facts. It's not about personal opinion or feelings. And just think about that, as they say, sleep on it, and next day think about it a little bit. And I would recommend read the Quran. And if you got any more questions, welcome to ask now or later. You're welcome to come back anytime and ask them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Problem. My pleasure. All right. Nice having you. Bye-bye. I'll let you go.
Bye-bye.